Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the LWN Network. Good to have you all here on Rumble X and YouTube. Thanks for joining me. I am Tammy Nation, your host of Headline Hits. It is Tuesday, May 6, 2025. It is the beginning of the week, and boy, things are still busy in the news headlines as they always are, ever-changing and fun to keep up with, actually. There's a lot of movement, and it's a lot of good movement, a lot of change. Sometimes change is good. Sometimes new things are better, and we have some examples of that in today's headlines. I hope you guys had a chance to catch our show last night. LW and myself did a show, and if you didn't, you should watch it and track down that phone number because we are holding now call-in shows. It is new. We are working and have been working on the call-in system, and it was really a good time just to hear people call in, and we hope to have more people call in. It isn't as scary as you think. Once you do it, then you'll keep doing it. So if you haven't joined us on our night show last night, go ahead and check it out if you want. And other than that, we're going to get headed into the headline hits this morning right after this short little intro. First up, we have this morning, President Trump did sign 5 EOs again yesterday afternoon. But the one that I thought was very pertinent and good for us, and all of them are, but this was really significant because the EO he signed yesterday that I'm bringing up here bans all federal funding for dangerous gain-of-function research in China, Iran, and other countries, and blocks the dollars for any foreign research that could spark another pandemic. The White House said the order will drastically reduce the potential for lab-related incidents involving gain-of-function research like that conducted on bat coronavirus in China by the EcoHealth Alliance and the Wuhan Institute of Virology, which we all knew that was going on. We assumed that, but it was, hidden. And we know now that the data's come out, the information's come out. That was very dangerous. That's where COVID originated from. And the White House said that the order is going to protect Americans from lab accidents and other biosecurity incidents, such as those that likely caused COVID-19 and the 1977 Russian flu. The president's order ends any present and all future federal funding of gain-of-function research in countries with insufficient oversight of research. That means they have to have oversight on every step of that research they're doing. It also empowers the U.S. to research agencies to identify and end federal funding of any other biological research that could pose a threat to the American public safety or national security. For decades, policies overseeing gain-of-function research on pathogens, toxins, and potential pathogens have lacked adequate enforcement, transparency, and top-down oversight. The White House said in a fact sheet describing the order, researchers have not acknowledged the legitimate potential for societal harms that this kind of research poses. Gain-of-function research typically involves modifying a virus to make it more infectious among humans. Gain-of-function research took place at the Wuhan lab before the COVID-19 pandemic even began. And I did a story a little while back that said that a few of the people that were in that lab were infected before COVID-19 was even a thing, and they came into the United States. So a big EO signature there. Let's hope that gets turned into law. The potentials of dangers, we've seen that. We've experienced it the last few years. And, there's no recovering from some of that for some people. And I think protecting the society and humans from that obviously should be a no-brainer. But obviously we have to fight to get it put into law, something that should already be there. Next up, we have a few days ago, a plane full of illegal immigrants did take off. For once, American taxpayers, you and me, did not foot the bill. Uzbekistan government paid for the flight of their own citizens who entered the U.S. illegally back home. Under a landmark deal brokered by Trump and the Department of Homeland Security, they're calling it a mile for how other nations should step up on immigration enforcement. Of course, Tom Homan's leading much of this crackdown, so they're setting this as an example that the foreign countries should pay for their own illegals to go back home. Tom Homan's cracking down on this. It's a first of its kind deportation deal with the U.S. and key Central Asian partner. New is sometimes better in this, so I'm all about that as well. Next up, we also have Diddy's trial is getting underway soon. The first celebrities named as the jury selection begins in this case was comedian Mike Myers and actor Michael B. Jordan. It's not the basketball player, it's Michael B. Jordan, an actor. Combs has pleaded not guilty on all counts, insisting that any sexual acts were consensual, but prosecutors say that for years he coerced the victims in a drug-fueled sex parties using threats and violence, so potential jurors were shown binders that had names and places related to this. They signed Monday, and that's how these people recognized the names of the actor Michael B. Jordan and comedian Michael Myers. They were on the list. Jury selection is expected to wrap up in about a week or so, and opening statements are tentatively scheduled for May 12th. And this trial is estimated to last 8 to 10 weeks or so. So we'll see what that brings. I think there's a lot of names that are going to be disclosed that we aren't going to believe. Up next, we have GOP leaders did find a new major holiday deadline for Trump's big, beautiful bill amid Medicaid tax divisions in the group. Some Republican leaders are hoping they can pass a massive bill codifying President Donald Trump's agenda into federal law by the 4th of July. That is the big holiday they're aiming for. It means the sweeping policy overhaul could reach Trump's desk for a signature by the 250th anniversary of the United States founding. It comes as House Republicans struggle to reconcile differences on clean energy and Medicaid in talks to find at least $1.5 trillion in spending cuts to pay for Trump's tax policies. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told reporters days earlier on Capitol Hill, "We've got 3 legs to the president's economic agenda: trade, tax, and deregulation, and we hope that we can have this tax portion done by the 4th of July. Republican lawmakers are working on a multi-trillion-dollar piece of legislation aimed at advancing Trump's policies on tax, defense, energy, immigration, border security, and at raising the debt limit." Now, Trump's tax policies are a cornerstone of his platform, and the costliest portion of this bill, extending into the 217 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act and eliminating taxes on tips, overtime pay, and retirees' Social Security. We know that some people were trying to block that in the House and Congress there, but J.D. Vance was the one that go ahead and gave the vote to move it forward into the Senate for this because they were trying to block it. So he did give the casting vote to break the tie. So it proceeds forward. Republican leaders and tax hawks have warned that failing to extend TCJA by the time its provisions expire at the end of this year could result in a tax hike of over 20% for millions of families. But House GOP leaders said in a letter to lawmakers that was dated April 5th, immediately following House adoption of the budget resolution, our House and Senate committees will begin preparing together their respective titles of the reconciliation bill to be marked up in the next work period. As always, this will involve input from all the members and will keep us on track to send a bill to the president's desk by Memorial Day. So Speaker Johnson did come out yesterday and said that there were like 7 of the portions of this signed and done, but there's some more portions left that they have to work on getting signed and the deal made. So components of this have been resolved, but they have to get all of it up there for it to be signed into law. So they're still working on parts of it. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Next up, that's what I was talking about. President J.D. Vance did pass the resolution that would have halted President Donald Trump's tariffs, because that's another thing they tried to block was the tariff bill that President Trump has out there. 3 Republicans did vote against it, trying to stall it, and that was Senator Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Susan Collins of Maine, and Rand Paul of Kentucky. They all bucked their party and sided with 46 Democrats in favor of passing the resolution. The remaining 49 Republicans voted against it, resulting in the 49-49 tie that Vance broke. Murkowski and Paul, who have divided their party in the past, argued that Trump did not have the constitutional authority to impose these tariffs. And if you ask me, if everyone followed the Constitution from the beginning, from when it was made, all along, we wouldn't be in the mess that we are all in across the board in every way, shape, and form in this country. We wouldn't be dealing with this stuff. So follow the Constitution everywhere, and we were going to eliminate a lot of problems that we have. Then next up, we do have Alcatraz is to be remodeled and reopened. We talked a bit about that on the show last night. President Trump says for far too long, America has been plagued by vicious, violent, and repeat criminals. Offenders and the dregs of society, who they are, will never contribute anything other than misery and suffering. When we were a more serious nation in the times past and gone by, we did not hesitate to lock up the most dangerous criminals and keep them far away from anyone they could harm. He said that is the way it's supposed to be, and we are no longer going to be held hostage by these serial offenders that spread filth, bloodshed, and mayhem on our streets. And he said, that's why I'm directing the Bureau of Prisons, together with the Department of Justice, the FBI, and Homeland Security, to reopen a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz to house America's most ruthless and violent offenders. So he doesn't want to be held hostage, and I don't think you or I do either. He said that we are going to make sure that these people are behind bars in Alcatraz, held hostage. They will be held hostage. Criminals, thugs, and even judges. He named judges. And you know that we have been dealing with a lot of problems with judges over the last few months, trying to blockade President Trump and his administration illegally, pretty much. And I know we want to see cuffs. We want to see arrest. Slowly but surely, we're seeing that happening. We know that a couple of judges did get arrested for being involved with housing illegal immigrants. There was another judge that was arrested for child sex trafficking accusations. So the cuffs are being put on some people, but it is a long process, and we have been very patient. But I think we're going to start seeing some action going in our favor as far as people paying for the crimes and being held accountable for the crimes that they've committed. Also, Gavin Newsom, to no surprise, is voicing his concern over the reopening of the prison, because that prison, they do tours there, and they are making like $60 million a year it is, and that is income into that state that he wants to keep. But I say, the heck with that. We put the prison back online, and we get these people held accountable, put on that island. Next up, we have appearing on the Tucker Carlson show. Now, this is a show that if you haven't seen, you guys, I think it's a really good one to watch, because the former housing official, Catherine Austin Fitts, says the U.S. government quietly spent, listen to this, $21 trillion to build underground cities for the elites in case of a major disaster in D.C. and also across the country. It's very interesting. And yes, I know that we know about underground cities for truckers and freight and all that kind of stuff. But some of what she had to share with Tucker includes this. She said she was looking at things in her position in 1998 into the fiscal year 2015. She said between 1998 and 2015, there were $21 trillion of undocumented adjustments in the U.S. government. If you go to our website, missingmoney.slayer.com, so there is a website you can go to. I'll read it again. It's missingmoney.slayer.com. We have years and years and years of documentation, including the government financials that show this. And so the question is, where is that money going? And one of the things I've looked at in the process of looking at where all the money is going is the underground base and city infrastructure and transportation system that's been built. So we have built an extraordinary number of underground places and supposedly transportation systems. Some of these are documented as part of a national security infrastructure. She said, I think there are many more in the United States and all over the world because from 2021 to 2023, I took one of the smartest subscribers in the Slayer Report network, and he and I spent 2 years collecting all the data and all the allegations on underground bases. And then when we systematically went through and tried to estimate our guess, and this is totally a guess, she said, of how many underground bases, both underground in the United States, but also underground the ocean around the United States, our estimate was 170 with the transportation network connecting all of them. To me, she said, there are two purposes you have. So many activities are going on that you want to keep secret, that you're basically building the capacity to try it. For example, if you're doing a secret space program or something, you need to platform it from the public and the obvious. And so it can't be seen. You know things, it can't be seen. So everything's done in secret. And she said the second thing is, if you were concerned about a near extinction world event. So she's saying that these elites have all this. And my question is, all this money and the government doing this, why don't we know about it? If it was for a mass extinction event, why wouldn't the public have entrances to it for our safety? So when she says it's elites and it's quiet from us, that kind of put 2 and 2 together. That means they're worried about them surviving and they could care less about us surviving. So it is a very fascinating interview. Once again, she's on Tucker Carlson. You can look up the show. And she is, once again, the former housing official, Catherine Austin Fitts. So I think that was pretty eye-opening, and check it out if you have the chance. And then next up, we do have, this came out of nowhere, in my opinion. I know it was on the way about driverless vehicles. We have that with Tesla now. You can sit behind there and they drive themselves. But this is completely different because there's no people needed inside these trucks to drive. So what's going on is driverless semis and trucks have been officially running their first regular long-haul routes, making round trips between Dallas and Houston. Last Thursday, autonomous trucking firm Aurora announced it launched commercial service in Texas under its first customers, Uber Freight and Hirschbach Motor Lines, which delivers time and temperature sensitive freight. Both companies conducted test runs with Aurora, including safety drivers to monitor the self-driving technology dubbed Aurora Driver. Aurora's new commercial service will no longer have safety drivers. What does that mean? Nobody's going to be in these big semis and freight trucks delivering freight. So it says we've been founded Aurora to deliver the benefits of self-driving technology safely, quickly, and broadly, the CEO and co-founder Chris Urmson said. Now we are the first company to successfully and safely operate a commercial driverless trucking service on public roads. The trucks are equipped with computers and sensors that can see the length of over 4 football fields. In 4 years of practice, Hall's the Trucks technology has delivered over 10,000 customer loads. As of Thursday, the company's self-driving tech has completed over 1,200 miles without a human in the truck. Houston to Dallas, beware. 1,200 miles without a human even being in the truck. Aurora is stating that with a single self-driving truck, and they started with it, they have that, but they plan to add many more by the end of this year. Self-driving technology continued to garner attention over a decade of the hype, especially from auto companies like Tesla, GM, and others that have poured billions into the tech. Companies in the market of autonomous trucking or driving tend to use states like Texas and California as their testing grounds for the technology. California-based Gatik does short-haul deliveries for Fortune 500 retailers like Walmart. Another California tech firm, Kodiak Robotics, delivers freight daily for customers across the South, but with safety drivers in it. Waymo, a subsidiary of Google parent company Alphabet, had an autonomous trucking arm, but dismantled it in 2023 to focus on its self-driving ride-hailing service. However, consumers, as you can imagine, and transportation officials have raised alarms about the safety record of autonomous driving vehicles. Aurora released its own safety report first this year, detailing how its technology works. Unions that represent truck drivers are mostly opposed to the driverless technology. I can see why, can't you? Lots of loss of jobs because of the jobs and concerns over safety. Now, I'm all about technology if it benefits us in ways. And is technology, just like now, this technology allows us to be all across the world and join in one little channel to be able to share information and talk with one another. But when it comes to driverless trucks and semis, these big vehicles or anything without a person in it, we all know technology has glitches. We all know sometimes it needs a reboot. We all know that it shuts down sometimes. So for me, going on a big scale all across this country, I can't imagine having tons of driverless trucks out there. I mean, people don't drive too well on their own, but I don't know how they would be avoiding trucks that didn't have people in them and all this automation stuff. So apparently train tracks, airplanes, and people driving trucks are no longer considered valuable. They're just taking this technology this far. And I did see an article as well. There are self-flying, I guess you call them mini, like sled looking machines that obviously they're $500,000 or more, and they are battery operated somehow. I think lithium batteries, and it actually you sit on it with a motorcycle helmet. It looks like a snowmobile, and it goes about tree level. And I think you can ride it for like 15 minutes to a half hour at the most before the battery dies out. And you see this person like just gliding over the tree lines and riding this vehicle. And it's just incredible when you start venturing out and realizing this is not science fiction in the future. All this is happening now. It gets really concerning because the more of it, more and more of this technology are taking the people out, you and me, and putting mechanics, robotics, and all of that in. And I don't think that I'm too comfortable with that. Not much I can do about it, but share it, expose it, and have conversations about it. But, you know, technology obviously is advantageous in many ways, but when it comes to driving vehicles, I'm not so sure I want to be on roads with driverless vehicles. Big trucks, that's the thing that bothers me, semis and everything else. So that's what's going on. That's headline hits for today, this Tuesday, you guys, May 6th, 2025. Thanks for joining me. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. And I'll be back for another one tomorrow, noon Eastern Standard Time. I hope you can join me then. And in the meantime, have a great, beautiful rest of your Tuesday. And I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.